Welcome back to All Shops, Great and Small, part 2 of our van build. This is going to be covering the module which has the toilet, the sink, and the microwave in. It's also very easy to remove. One nut you take off, and then there's plugs for the wiring going to the back. That we can take out very easily and put in a bucket seat with 3 buckets and then a single on the side in the back. So that would give us 6 passengers, 6 people total, with very little work. And then when you do some traveling, you put this module in. We're going to go over building it and how you want to think about these things. You have to. For every hour of building time, I have 5 hours of thinking time. So you want to spend that time before you start cutting plywood. Some of the considerations on why I went with a cooler rather than a refrigerator. The refrigerator is the biggest constant draw. So you need either an inverter and a battery bank that will handle it, or you're going to run the generator some. When I'm on vacation, I want my beer ice cold, and these modern coolers, $150 at Walmart for a cooler that will keep ice for 4 or 5 days. So that's the plus. The cooler I can take out and use it as a seat when we get where we're going. And as far as not putting hot water in and not having a big storage tank, I have 2 5-gallon jugs. I like the idea of being able to carry the jug somewhere, fill it up, take it back, and put it in there. As far as no hot water, well, you go to a campground, you go to a hotel, cheap hotel every now and then you can spend time in a shower. You don't want to, and a shower takes up a whole lot of room for the little bit of use it gets, and it's a lot more expense. We're doing number 1, budget is the most important thing on this. Okay, well, we'll go through the steps of building that module now, and thank you for being with us. Talk a lot about your hardware and how you want it rattle-free. The way I make gaskets here, and it's important that you do the first step, you give it a tap with your cutout. That's for, give it a tap, that marks it, then you drill the hole in the center. Then you finish cutting it out, and you get a nice little gasket with a hole in the center that's plastic. You can tighten that up against a lock nut and have a rattle-free hinge. You can also use this. I use this for smaller hinges and smaller gaskets, a jug like this. But again, you mark it first, then drill the hole, and then finish cutting it out. That way you'll get your the hole right in the center.
When you're figuring everything out, you lay everything on top of, there's the back for, this is going to be the cabinet that's going to be the sink and the kitchen module. You just build around the necessities, and then what's left you use as storage space. I get everything temporarily screwed together. Then I want to set everything in there and decide where I have to cut holes and access electric and all that. Half the time you take your magic marker and you round off all the things that have to be rounded, and you think about how you're going to do the top and the trim, but most of all you want to make sure you can access all the compartments with propane or electric. Okay, glued back together, ready for the top. As soon as we get the sink, we can cut the rest of the top out and then put the walnut top on.
When you're sanding, after you've glued the boards together, the marks you made for your biscuits, you can use to know when you're level. As soon as you take that low one off, then you know you're level.
I use glue and I use screws for putting it together. That way you can use as thin a material as possible for keeping that weight down. Bottom of the kitchen module, which you can see we put feet on the bottom, made out of hardwood on the bottom of the plywood so it doesn't delaminate. One more coat of polyurethane on the top and on the cutting board area, and we can put it back in. Put some doors on it. My father taught me a long time ago, you take the sanding dust, mix it with a little bit of Elmer's glue, mix it up, and then it'll match. The color will be very close for this walnut. Battery box, it's going to have two 6-volt deep cycle batteries, and I'll put the inverter right on the back
Once
of
you
it.
unload the cabinet, you can take it out yourself. One person can. It's probably 100, or it's less than 100 pounds.
The way you want that corner to fit there, you want enough clearance it's not going to rub and make noise. We're just installing the battery box. Took the batteries out of Big Blue, and we're going to use them in here, but you want to lay your wires out nice and make sure they aren't rubbing anywhere. Painting something like this that's flat, instead of getting the little triangular shaped wood things, just roofing nails. 3 roofing nails under there lifts it off with very, very little contact. You've probably heard me refer to the emerald ash borer, and here's an example of what they do. They get underneath the bark. They go around. Those little trails there are sawdust after they eat whatever they eat. But that's what the damage is. If you own land in north central Pennsylvania and have much ash on it, you might as well cut it. Use it for firewood because the trees are all dead.
3 months of the year.
Just getting ready to put the catches on the doors that I just put on, and they look beautiful for sure. And then I did this and this and realized you can't take the toilet out. The hinges I have to I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. So that's the fix right there. We just moved the pivot point out, made a couple new hinges there, and we'll fix that. This is the beginning of a little module which is going to have, if you're a motocrosser, you can keep your chemicals, your chain lube and all that in there. And if you're going tailgating, you can put your adult beverages in there. This is a storage module which is going to have the walnut on it. I decided, since this is very visible, before putting the walnut on, we're going to put a 3rd coat on it and make it real nice and smooth.
Just laying out the pieces here that are going to be the top, the bar top for the small bar module. And you really, when you're making the hardware and all, you really have to do some thinking, because this thing's going to fold up, and you have to have your hinge so it looks nice here. But anyhow, that's what I'm working on now, and this walnut's beautiful stuff.
I have to figure out some real simple props to hold the wings up. It's a piece of plywood we're going to use for building the tower in the back, which is going to house the air conditioner and the generator and all. Makes you feel old when you pay over $100 for a sheet of plywood. Well, this is where we're at so far. The big job is going to be module number 3 on the back door, which we're working on. But this is how much we have done so far. This is pretty much the interior is finished. This is your 12 volt, turns the 12 volt on. This one turns the inverter on, which gives me 110 volt, which gives us TV and the lights and all. The sink is here. The pump for the sink has been installed. This is a cutting board which we cut out the hole for the sink, which turned out real nice. A big thank you to the Holdren Sawmill over on Rose Valley Road. I cut a walnut tree down by mistake cutting firewood, and he sawed it up for me. He did a beautiful job. I want to thank him, and I also want to thank Quarters Carpet. So here's where we're at so far. We got toilet, comes out here, and that's a as needed, but not to be used on a daily basis. The heater on the other side there, that's propane, and then up above just some storage there. Again, the inverter, when we turn it on, it will handle the microwave. It'll just handle it without starting up the generator. So that's where we're at. We want you to check us out on YouTube, episode number 8. That is where we talk about sizing a generator, and somewhat about generator installation, because that's going to be what we're going to do next week, or not next week, next month, on the tower where the air conditioning and the generator and all. So check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to us under Robert Logue or All Shops Great and Small. And as always, we appreciate you watching.